So GDP of India has grown, GDP per capita has not grown. And it's reflecting in then there is a lagging effect with enterprises, right? While consumers have become rich, enterprises are still operating in the old mindset and so on.
Hi there, I'm Vishesh, your host. I'm a 5-time founder, ex CTO, and now building my sixth venture, 71. Our first product, Jerry, helps founders run an inbound led outbound motion, helping them turn content into warm leads without being spammy or breaking LinkedIn terms of use. You can check out Jerry at tryjerry.com. In this episode, I'm joined by Sudarshan Kamath, co-founder of Smallest.ai. They are building one of the fastest and most compact voice AI platforms in the world, from India for global enterprises. With roots in autonomous vehicles and legal AI, he is now redefining what real-time enterprise-ready voice agents can do. This episode explores how he ships deep tech that scales globally and why most Indian founders aim too small, and his journey so far. Hey, hi, Sudarshan. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
No, thanks for having me, Vishesh.
And so, do you want to talk a little bit about the story behind Smallest and where you guys are at and what do you do for your customers?
Yeah. So Smallest AI started as a AI research lab. The idea was, look, everyone is saying you need $100 billion to build intelligent models, and we have very, very strong mathematical reasons to believe that LLMs are not the answer to general intelligence, and there is much more to it. And smaller models could also achieve intelligence if architected the right way. So that's how we started. That was the general idea around Smallest, naming it Smallest. I bought the domain name for $100 in 2023.
Wow,
And then,
that's a deal.
yeah, yeah. Now I think it's much more expensive. But voice AI is something we went into because at that time we were speaking to hundreds of companies in the US, and what we realized is everyone was trying to build voice agents as startups, but then whoever was buying those agents was all were all facing similar issues. The latencies were high, the costs were high, the quality was not great. And we started digging deeper into what's causing these issues, and we realized that firstly, everyone was using the same APIs in the background, which is they were using a particular provider for text to speech, they were using a particular LLM provider, they were using a particular speech to text provider. These are models that plug in to build a voice agent. And none of these are actually optimized for the end use case, which is customer support or sales or debt collection or something like that. So there was a you know, difference in what the underlying APIs were built for and what the voice agents are supposed to do. Someone
Right.
thought it's a great idea to plug it in and build one voice agent, but then beyond POCs, nothing was scaling. So if you look at enterprise voice agent adoption to automate inbound or outbound calls, it's very less for serious use cases. Less than 1% of B2B calls are automated. So we started doing our PhD on why that's happening, and we started tackling it from one level down. What does the uh, voice agent stack for an enterprise-ready voice agent look like? We first started with a text-to-speech model because that was the biggest challenge. It had the highest latency, it had the highest cost, 20 times more expensive than the other APIs, and we built one of the world's fastest text-to-speech models. It's called Lightning. It does hyper-realistic human-like audio in 16 plus languages in 100 milliseconds time to first byte. But then we didn't stop at Lightning. Today we have an entire voice agentic infra, and we built our model is to build really custom enterprise ready voice agents for very large enterprises, publicly listed or unicorns. We where we come in is we don't say that, hey, look, this is a SaaS and like go and sort of try to figure out how to build the agent yourself. We are like, tell us what you need, and we are gonna make sure this is robust and working for you. What allows us to do that is we train our own models and we have control to the nth level on the LLM infra. Our intelligence layer Electron is post-trained on one of the Quen-based models, and it performs extremely well in 10 plus languages, and is extremely good at following instructions and having conversations and doing tool calling and things like that. It has a 10 times faster time to first byte compared to OpenAI 4.1 mini. OpenAI 4.1 mini is at 450 milliseconds time to first byte. When the model which we have trained, we had to do some changes to get it here, but then today it's at 45 milliseconds time to first byte. It's 10 times faster. So, and the journey has just begun. This is just the technical issues that we are solving. There is a lot to do on the enterprise end to make the enterprise contact centers ready for voice agents, and that's what we are here to solve.
When you talk about end use cases, are you, let's say, for customer support in a specific domain or any other use case, are you specifically retraining the model for your customers and deploying a custom model for them?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there are like two, three ways to think about it. One is retraining based on use case, which is fine. Like you might need some retraining, but not too much. The main important retraining that you need is on custom data. So typically enterprises have large amount of knowledge bases. I mean, you have all the product data, all the SOPs with respect to that particular process that has to be followed. One of the enterprise we're working with has a 300-page SOP, right? And while it is theoretically that LLMs have in like large context over a million things, a million words and so on, it doesn't really work in production to sort of give the right answer at the right time. So we post-train the model to sort of get that data in this format that is useful for the enterprises when they build something for their customers, and we are able to deploy that. So yeah. So, and it's not really a manual process. I mean, it's semi-automatic. You sort of put it in, there is a structure to it. And then what we get at the end is a set of evaluation metrics, which say that, hey, look, this model works for 80% of the questions that you get today. For these 20%, we need to get more data or so on, right? So it's a, I think what is important to understand is for voice agents, to make it successful, you have to treat it like a human. You can't treat it like a SaaS. You have to say that, hey, this is a new trainee that has joined my team. How can I give it room for improvement? So you first give it some calls, run the test, see if it works. Okay. Then you give it some more calls, see if it works, see where it fails. Then you scale it up ahead. And if whatever training is required in this process, you identify and sort of do that, right? So I think the biggest challenge with enterprise voice AI adoption is how do you do expectation management and how do you sort of push this in at the right time, at the right use case.
So, in your case, are you recommending people to have a human handoff if things don't work out with the
Yeah,
agent when deploying?
100%. So, I mean, it's just like a human again. So, just like human, if he's not able to answer your query, he'll hand you off to a supervisor. Here, the AI supervisor is a human, right? So,
Yeah.
we recommend the same.
And so I was listening to another podcast where the co-founder of Cursor, I think Michael Turrell, was mentioning about they didn't expect to train their own models and now they are. In your journey, did you from the get-go know that one, you will be building models, and two, you will be post-training models for customers and it will not be a general purpose API?
No, so we always wanted to solve a problem.
Right.
We never had this that, oh, we want to train models. For us, yeah, one of the things has been the broader goal that in the end, they're going to be like the intelligence is not going to come from like a central large model, but like all these agents are going to be powered by extremely small hyper-personalized models that can do handoffs to other models or other agents that are specialized in various things. That's like the broader goal. But for us, we were just trying to solve a problem. And very quickly we realized that this doesn't work. You can't like put in something else in between and hope that they are going to get better with time. And, it's also going to solve your use case with time completely. So, uh, we did not expect for this to happen. We ended up doing this because it was necessary and it was just so much better compared to sort of relying on something else where we had no control on how it worked. Imagine you're driving a car, your engine breaks down, and you take it to the garage, and let's say your car is Mercedes. Mercedes say, "Hey, this is a Fiat engine," or this is some Bosch, I don't know, brake pad. I can't fix this. You go to Bosch. That would be so frustrating, right? So that's what's happening with voice agents today. Like you're like, hey, my voice agent doesn't work because OpenAI doesn't work, or because this API is failing, right? You don't want that. The customers want a solution. We're here to provide a solution. If something worked out of the box, we'll be happy to use it. But it just doesn't, and by the nature of it, it will continue not to, especially when you have large amounts of private data.
What was the genesis of Smallest? How did you guys start?
Yeah, we started with, me and Akshat, we have been talking for a very long time. We wanted to do something together. Akshat and I are batchmates from IIT Guwahati. We've also worked together in autonomous vehicles. We've also published some papers together and so on. So we have sort of known each other's strengths and we know that we are complementary. So we really enjoy working together. I think, and the market opportunity around small models and voice was also very clear. So we decided to take that risk. We quit our jobs early 2024. We realized that like, hey, if you want to build a company, you have to do it full time, right? You can't like uh, do it part time. It's really hard to build a company. Like so many companies fail. So it would be a shame if we try to spend our time, but we are not giving it our all. So we wanted to give it our all, and so we quit. We started writing code. The first landing page was sort of built by me. The first model, me and Akshat had trained it. So just by ourselves, putting in our own capital. And then, yeah, and then when we put our demo on uh, out there, it went viral. And then once the demo went viral, like we got a lot of interest, customers, investors. We raised a small pre-seed round. Yeah, and I think there's been no looking back. Like we we also like we kept doing good work. We kept improving. I think what we have learned is like there is a lot of frugal improvement you can do when you are not too distracted. So we kept our focus on voice. We kept our focus on being the sort of enterprise ready platform. And then we got a lot of inbounds from customers, like top CEOs of very large enterprises, publicly listed unicorns, reached out to us, not because we sort of went to them, because our work was really good and we were working very hard and we were very honest with our customers that, hey, this is possible. This is not possible today. If you want this, it'll take some time. We are gonna build it for you. You're going to be you can go and try the POCs, but we can guarantee that it won't work. We'll be honest with you. So we've also said no to business a lot of times. We have always been sort of about let's deliver more than what we promise.
Yeah, that's an interesting thread. I think lot of early stage companies where they falter is obviously there's a lot of the vision that is not built. And when they hear from the customers, like new things or threads that need to be built, the judgment of what's possible and what's super hard has to be point on, because you do have to promise stuff that is not yet built at times. But if you promise
Yeah.
something that is completely impossible, it's not going to end well for both the customer and you.
Yeah, and I think it's also very important to choose the right customers because as a startup, and this happened to us also initially, like everyone would come to us, like everyone, because if you have a really good word of mouth, if you go have like good social media presence, you're gonna get a lot of inbounds. So every day on our website, there are 300, 400 leads that are signing up. We disqualify most of them. We
Hmm.
don't, we only engage with the ones which follow our criteria that it has to at least grow to $100,000 account. We
Right.
prefer $1 million accounts. It has to be at least $100,000 account. They have to at least have existing contact center operations. These are the languages we support. They should be willing to do prepayment. They should be willing to pay for a POC. So we have all these criterias. Otherwise, and till we find those, there are those customers. Till we find those customers, we always disqualify the others. So for us, that has been a hard learning. And I think if you go by that, if you have a strong opinion, I think it could be any opinion, but you should have a strong opinion based on market, and that allows you to stay focused. Otherwise, you will not be able to measure what exactly is growing in the company. So that has really helped us out.
Both of you come from an engineering background. How hard has been in terms of enterprise sales catching up on the sales front, and you own the sales?
Yeah. So yeah, we both of us come from an engineering background. However, I have done some sales. So I mean, I have managed operations, call center operations, have done sales. I'm like a guy who just likes to try everything out, see very seriously, and then sort of see whether I like it or not. So I've done my like CFA level, and I've done some finance. I have tried tech startups. I've tried working in a large organization. So I've tried being a developer. I've tried being a data scientist. I've tried being a product manager. I've tried being various things, right? So for me, that diversity has been helpful. But I think it's also very important to realize your weaknesses. So enterprise sales, there are people who are much more experienced, who have previous experience with board members of large public enterprises who have already sold them things in our industry, etc., etc. And I think what is very important, the first step is to just understand your weakness and appreciate that hey, these are the things I don't have today. So I need someone who can help me with that, right? That has been helpful. Whenever we go, we talk to investors, we talk to potential hires, we look for these skills, and that has been helpful in sort of navigating the environment and sort of getting our foot in the door. And also having great brand and having great social media presence helps, because and also having great product help, because all these show authenticity to the enterprise buyers. So it has been tough, no doubt. I know, great sales founders, GTM founders who started a company with a $1 million ARR. They, on day zero, had a contract which gave them that, and then they started building. So there is always a lot to learn, and um, the important thing is to recognize that and understand your weakness. Like, not be like, oh, like you have like 50,000 followers, 1 million impressions on social media. That's gonna make my company successful. No, I mean, you have to be very realistic with yourself, right? So that has been helpful to us.
And so you've added salespeople from outside yet, or right now, no?
Yeah, we have folks who help with two things. One is prospecting, which is just pure cold reach out, pure setting up meetings, getting the first sort of intros in and sort of making sure that the demand is well understood and so on. And also handling accounts which are non-key. So, for example, I personally only handle either very specific enterprises in India, which are key accounts, or US accounts, large US accounts. I don't handle any SMB accounts. That's not our success criteria. That's something that also is adding revenue. It's okay. But our goal is very clear. We want like a 6 to 7 digit enterprise in the US. So I only spend my time doing that, and the people who are in sales, they only help set up meetings or sort of help do that. But the main sort of driving the hero North Star metric is still founder led in sales.
And so this prospecting, is it outsourced or in-house? Like, is it a full-time
In
thing?
us, we don't outsource anything. So we only outsource, like, I think the only thing we outsource is accounting and SEO, which also SEO at least we are considering making it in-house. But yeah, sales, I think, is definitely you have to own up. There's no point. Yeah, there's just so much customization, personalization, and also as a startup, your demands are constantly changing. Your pitch is constantly changing. The pricing is constantly changing.
Change.
When you sell to a when you give off your sales to an external party, I think they are very, very fixated with what they want from you, and that doesn't work out. And also, like, that hustle is not there because they are not really tied to your company culture. So culture, I think, plays a big role in early stage startups, and for us, like, maintaining that culture has been paramount. Like, we hire culture fits only. We don't hire folks who don't get the culture, and uh, You can't, that's why outsource sales.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And so, how do you test for culture match? Is there anything different you're doing that people can?
It's a good question. We don't have a specific process to it,
Hmm.
but it's very well, like you can understand in interviews. Like, I think there are few things that are there in uh, good culture fits. One is like really high agency, actively sort of taking up things. They can show, they'll show they are super excited. They've done their work even before they are getting on a call. They
Yeah.
are really capable. They have done good work in their field. I don't have to. So I usually don't hire anyone I have to manage. I only hire folks who I don't have to manage. And I only have to guide them and remove things out of the way and sort of point them in the right direction, right? So if I at all feel that I'll have to manage this guy, I don't hire him or her, right? So that's very clear. And for us, ability to learn on their own is very important. For me, for example, when I was sort of doing applied, I everything I think I've learned, I've just been put into a system where there were like a lot of variables, and that just I just like learned whatever everyone is doing and sort of figured out what I have to do to make an impact. So most of my managers, if you talk to them previously wherever I was working, one thing I am sure they will agree is that they don't have to like actively manage me and tell me like, hey, what's the update? Did you do this or this? So I generally look for people I don't have to manage. I generally look for people with high agency and also like just basics like honesty, like diligence, attention to detail, things like that are really important. Like if you have uh, if you're not honest, like we are a high trust company. I don't like treat my employees as employees. Like we are all just we are here with a common mission. We love working together. That's why we are working together. You don't have to work for me. I don't have to deal with you. Like we are here because it's fun. So okay, you're building a company. It's great. We all have to do good work. We have to sort of make a lot of money and so on. But then and do good impact. But then we also have to have fun, right? So I work with people who I would like sort of would want to just hang out with and like learn from them and so on.
And so, it's a fairly technical product. How do you do as a relatively young company? How do you ensure you ship technical breakthroughs, but also focus on a simple user experience for your customers and moving fast?
You mean how do you do data science research and also do
Yeah.
application? Yeah, I think, see, we don't like do data science for the sake of it. Like, I think we very quickly sort of realize that the building models is for the end use case, all right?
Right.
So we have to sort of reverse engineer from there. We are not in the business of selling models. While we do develop models, it's for the end use case. So for us, it's always been grounded from there. We look at the business opportunity and go back to the drawing board, say that, okay, do we need to develop this in-house? Do we have to do it, outsource it? Can we outsource it reliably? If the answer is no, build it in-house. And for us, I think it's a no-brainer actually because like the cost also reduces drastically, sort of. I mean, you get a fixed cost, but then the variable cost is drastically lower. So so it's never been it's I think the only thing is your expenditures are a little more. So in a company, let's say you raised 1 million, you can get, let's say, 10 engineers, and let's say you build a team in India, let's say average salaries 2 lakh or even let's say 3 lakh. So you're spending 30 lakhs a month versus you have a data science team as well. So let's say into two, so 60 lakhs. And then you have GPUs as well. You say another 20, 30 lakhs or more, right? So you could go from a 30 lakhs per month to uh, 1 crore a month if you have a data science team. Um, so we have managed to sort of reduce costs and sort of be more efficient of how we build the team and sort of found people who align with the vision well and so on. A lot of smart people have taken a pay cut. We don't pay above market. We can't at this point of time. If we can, we could, right? So we don't pay above market. We typically pay slightly below market, but still pretty well. And we get like those people who are willing to take that risk, who understand the value of ESOPs, And a lot of people will go in the market and say, hey, startup ESOPs like don't have any value. That's because they have never made money through ESOPs.
Right.
I mean, if you actually if you actually talk to people who have made money through ESOPs, they will ask you to optimize for different. They'll tell you. So if you are getting ESOPs, what you should try to understand is whether that startup can give you an exit, can succeed. Who are the founders? Do you trust them? Okay. What are they building? Do you think it's actually exciting? Do you think actually you can build a company out of this? Okay. Do you think there are investors who are sort of lined up to invest? Do you think your customers are excited? So if you sort of have these questions out of the way and have positive answers to each of them, ESOPs are worth quite a lot of money, and that's the risk you're taking, right? Um, so yeah, so that way having the engineering team really aligned helps, and yeah, having the data science team is not an issue. We have managed that decently well.
I think on the ESOPs front, I do see skepticism, like you're saying. I think people need to, especially who are evaluating it as a compensation sort of incentive for themselves. At least from what I have seen, they should also focus on the growth trajectory, because I mean, raising money is definitely a really good filter if investors are behind a startup. But if you talk to existing employees or people who you can get to sort of give insights about the company, and if the company is not growing in terms of customers, not just revenue, that's a big indicator that ESOPs are not going to be worth.
Yeah, I think like you know it so yeah, it's like it's easy to evaluate a company, right? Like there is, I mean, not easy, but like there are stages. So for example, if a company has for 5 years sort of only been building, but like has no revenue,
Right.
probably not a good time. If a company has built like decent product in a year, but has no revenue, but there is potential, like you see potential in the market, that's a good company. So there is a risk involved. Maybe they don't do GTM well. So you have to understand what are you underwriting. Are you underwriting this founder's ability to do GTM? Is that the only thing that is risky in this? I think ESOPs, you have to think like a VC, right? Like you have to think like you're optimizing for
Yeah, you
exit.
are
Maybe your
investing.
priorities are different. So yeah,
And you've said India shouldn't build for India first, or founders from India shouldn't build for India first. What made you so sure? I think it's probably SaaS, maybe that statement, or you
yeah.
think, right? Yeah.
So this is like B2B SaaS generally. I mean, of course, you could build great consumer businesses in India. You have Zepto, you have in D2C, you look at all these Whole Truth, and you can look at other, like even offline, like California Burrito, all these companies, right, that are doing pretty decently well. I really liked Blue Smart. I know it got shut down, but that was
Yeah.
really nice. But consumer space, like in general, whether whatever you're selling directly to consumers, whether it's a app or whether it's a product or whether it's a service, it's a great space to build in. If you're
Right.
building B2B SaaS, the market is very small. The
Hmm.
kind of features you're gonna end up building for an enterprise in India is very different than what you will build for a global enterprise. The people you think are customers are not really customers. Very few customers will actually be customers.
Hmm.
They are only, I think, like I could say things, and I could just say like five statements right now that will generally be true for, let's say, 80% of Indian enterprises. One is like, uh, people will use startups as free engineering resources to do POCs. They will not pay. People will have all sorts of wrong incentives to do a project. Like you are doing a project, but you don't really understand what is the success criteria of that project, or you don't like truly believe this is important and necessary. You're doing this because someone gave you a budget for AI, and now you have to spend it and show that I'm doing AI. Right? You are not having the decision making power, but you are acting like that. Like you are acting and going and sort of talking to someone saying, "Ha, yeah, we'll buy it." But you really don't have that decision making power, and the people without decision making powers are negotiating with you, and you think this is serious, but then you should not even be talking to them. And Yeah, like finally, I mean, you end up with like all sorts of problems. So, for example, if you were a startup in 2024, new building voice agents in the Silicon Valley, if you're doing decently well, you pick any one SMB vertical, you pick like, let's say HVAC, you pick salons, start selling to them. You could easily have made a few $100,000 if you sort of built a decent product, just doing like POCs and stuff like that. I'm not even talking about like full production scale. Like versus to get to a few $100,000 in India, uh, imagine like what do you need? Like the largest enterprises would not pay you 10K, 20K upfront to do a POC. This 15 lakh, it's such a
Yeah.
huge amount. There are small salon businesses in the US, salon chains that are willing to pay $5,000 to $10,000 to do POCs. If you're able to find them well. So you have to understand that is the difference in the spending capacity. So GDP of India has grown, GDP per capita has not grown, and it's reflecting in. And there is a lagging effect with enterprises, right? While consumers have become rich, enterprises are still operating in the old mindset and so on.
Hmm.
You are valuing money more than time in other markets and in other, I mean, Europe might be a little worse. Actually, India, I think, is slightly still better. uh, US is that economy where they actually don't have time. There's no time. People are just busy. There are no people. So then when you do AI, you give AI, it's an actual real problem. Like imagine you have to hire an accountant and there is no accountant. Like how do you do your taxes? Or if you have to hire a receptionist, there is no receptionist. It's $60,000.
You guys, you've moved now to US, and
Yeah.
how did you land your first US customers as a company that started in India but
Uh,
now has moved?
yeah, that was a lot of cold mailing. We did a lot of cold mailing and we landed our first customer in the US in Chicago. And we also got some connects then through the investors that we spoke to and so on.
Hmm.
And then a lot of once I came here and sort of started meeting people, there were like folks who were like, like you guys are doing really good work. We haven't heard of you. Let's try you out. And they went and then they paid. And I'm like, okay, you didn't even talk to me and you paid. Okay, good. Like, so I'm nowhere claiming to have sort of had that sort of PMF, large enterprise PMF yet. We are also still sort of looking
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
for success, and it takes time. But we have started conversations, and yeah. But I think being rooted in that ecosystem just will get you naturally connected. I would say if you are building B2B SaaS, etc., from India, get your visa, etc., sorted. Just move to the US. Like just spend your initial. Don't try to sort of build product without actually talking to customers here. And actually, the problem also is you will not get true insights till you come here and you see like with your own eyes what's being built. See, I mean, we knew at the back of our heart at some point that this is we have to do much more to build this globally, and now we have all those sort of things fructify when we have seen it with our own eyes. But then till Akshat flew here, till I flew here, we sort of never understood the gravity of what is required to truly build a global company. And I think the difference is when you come here, you naturally feel like you have to build a very huge company because
Hmm.
that's what the average ambition is. People truly believe that over here. So if you have a visa, you should just move to, SF.
All right. We've reached random questions, short questions that hopefully will have short answers. What's a totally non-AI obsession you have right now?
I like walking. I just love walking around SF. I
Hmm.
try to, I mean, it's completely changed in Bangalore, I could never complete my steps. Here, I just complete it every single day.
Yeah. How many do you hit?
Whatever my iPhone tells me, I'm doing like the bare minimum. But I think it's like 7 kilometers, 6, 7 kilometers a day. So
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that's cool. So it's so far in the journey. What's been the most absurd day or thing that you can now laugh about?
uh I think the most weird thing was when we were first going to raise a round, I'll not name the VC, but like we had no clue how these fundraisers work. So we go have an in-person meeting, and the VCs are like say sort of trying to make a decision, like they might be partners, etc., etc. But we are like just going about our business and talking right about what we are doing.
Yeah.
So we go talk to them. We tell them like, can you tell us now, like if you're interested? And they're like, no, it takes like like we have to have a discussion and so on. Like we're like, no, no, tell us now. No, we'll wait outside. You discuss and tell. So that was nice.
A task you delegate that frustrates you because it's never done the way you want.
SEO. I mean, if I could write the blogs, right, I would write amazing blogs. Unfortunately I can't keep writing every single blog, but yeah, I have not been able to outsource SEO well. I have not been able to even in-house get someone who can just do SEO like really well
Hmm.
because our things are technical. So I need technical people to be writers, but then you don't get technical writers that are good. So it's like, and then engineers who are actually doing work can't keep writing blogs. So like
Yeah.
it's tricky. The way I write today is mostly I look at what is a good topic to write, and then I ask GPT for an outline for it.
Right.
And then I actually go about writing the actual stuff. And then wherever I feel like all the information is there, it just has to be like structured nicely and so on, I give it to like GPT to it. But like that work of sort of building that outline, vetting it, getting the data, adding stuff that's missing, like the all that last mile finesse is what makes SEO amazing or like okay. So I think that last mile finesse is what I've not been able to optimize for.
What's the one belief that has stayed constant across the journey so far, both professionally and in the startup world?
Just stay humble. Like you have to have two personalities. Like one is where you're like super confident and like pitching every day, pitching to customers, pitching on social media, pitching to investors, giving everyone belief. And the second is you have to know the reality and what is not working, because the most important parts of the company are what is not working, and that's going to come to you and you have to solve that, right? So that has stayed constant.
Well, Sudarshan, it was a fun chat. Where can people follow you and learn more about Smallest?
I think Twitter is a good place to follow me, and LinkedIn is a little spammed. I mean, you could follow me on LinkedIn, but I have like maxed out my connections, so you can just like we can't connect anymore. But Twitter is a great place.
Cool. I'll list out both the profile and obviously Smallest on the show notes where people can reach you. But thanks for joining me on the pod, and it was fun talking to you.
No, thanks for having me, Vishesh. Great talking.
If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.